guys, so today I'm doing my November wrap up and I had the best reading month. I read so many great books. It was the first time in a while that I've been back to the library and just got a bunch of different books that I was really looking forward to. So I had the best month of reading. It's been so much fun, and I ended up reading, I think it's 9 books. Some of them are like comics slash manga, so I feel like that makes them easier to get through, but still 9 is amazing and I'm really stoked with how much I was able to read this month. It was just really fun. So just getting straight into the wrap up. The first book that I read this month, finally, was Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I loved this. It's a YA contemporary by one of my favourite authors, and I rated it 5 stars, of course. I have a full review of this, which I will link down below if you want to check it out. The second couple of books I read were actually comics in the Miss Marvel series. This was one that I've been wanting to pick up for ages. It's actually the first comic book that I've ever read, and I really enjoyed these. So I'll talk about the first one first. It's called No Normal. The reason I wanted to pick these up was because Girl Reading mentioned them. First of all, the main character is kind of unexpected. She's a Muslim American girl and living in New York, and I just loved all of that. I just think it was amazing. There were parts that really made me laugh. She writes fan fiction, and this page in particular cracked me up. It's like one of the first few pages in the whole thing, and this is like her fan comic thing. And can you just see the little unicorns up there? And it's like, no, he killed rainbow toots, and they're all just like, no. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. I love this so much. I just thought that was great. I would read that whole comic if that's a thing. There were a lot of references to different stuff too, which I really wasn't expecting, and I really liked that. Like, for instance, one of the guys in this was wearing a Back to the Future t-shirt at one stage, so I just thought that was cool. Some of the art in this is beautiful as well, and when I say some of, I really mean all of. But some of, like, especially the full page kind of images, I really liked them, and I'm trying to find one in particular that was my favorite. Okay, this is my absolute favorite page. I just thought it was so cool. So she's like sitting on top of a lamppost, and there's a cityscape, and it's nighttime, and there's stars in the background. I just thought this was really beautiful. And yeah, I definitely, when I finished this one, I totally wanted to know what was going to happen next, so I picked this one up a few days later, I think, and these were really quick for me to get through too. Like, they each took me less than a day. This one, oh, that one, by the way, I rated 4 stars. I rated both of these 4 stars. I really enjoyed them. This was just more of the same goodness. It was great. There was also a strong political message for the young people of our generation, so I liked that too. It had a cute dog in it, so that always gets a plus from me, and there were also other characters from other comics in here. Like, there was Wolverine, there was Captain America, and there was Inhumans, which I didn't actually know that the Inhumans was a thing. I'd never heard of them before, and when I mentioned it to my boyfriend, because I was telling him how I was reading this and how much I loved it, he pulls off an Inhumans comic from his shelf over there, and I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing, and you own it, so might read that at some point. So I really loved these. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I did get another one out from the library, but I realized it was actually number 5, so I need to find number 3 first. The next book I read, which was also one that I finally read, was The Selection by Kara Cass. The concept of it, if you don't know, is that the main character, America, enters this contest where girls, it's kind of like The Bachelor, but they're trying to win the heart of the prince to become like the next princess and potentially queen one day, I guess. So yeah, and the world is kind of dystopian. People are divided into different groups by numbers, and the different sort of classes of people have different roles in society. So America is, I think she's a 4, forgive me if I'm wrong, it was a few weeks ago that I read this, but she's in the artist category, so she is a musician. So yeah, I liked the concept of it being a dystopian Bachelor. I watch The Bachelor, guilty pleasure sometimes. The last one I watched was the New Zealand one. I have watched a couple of the Australian ones before as well. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool concept, and it kind of is critical of the whole Bachelor thing too. So America was quite a good protagonist. She wasn't too annoying most of the time, so kind of liked her. I liked where the story went as well, because when she was entering this contest and going into the castle, I sort of thought it would go a certain way, and then it didn't really go that way. So I liked how unpredictable it was and how the story went. I thought that was really different, but like not super outlandish. I just liked that a lot. I think they dealt with a few trickier concepts quite well. There was a little bit of discussion about sex and consent, which I thought was quite good. I didn't love the whole love triangle thing. What is with love triangles? Why are they everywhere? Yeah, I didn't like it because America would kind of go for whichever one of the two she was not mad at the time. She would always be mad at one of them and she would go after the other one, and I just hate that. And I was also kind of laughing at the fact that the society is divided up into classes, which is obviously that's terrible, but laughing at the fact that America and her family are artists, and yes, they're not very wealthy, but they are full-time making their living as artists, and that's kind of the dream for some people in our society at the moment. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, yes, they're scraping by, but they're scraping by. They don't have to have a day job because their full-time job is art. So I did find that kind of funny. The world building was a little bit off at times for me as well, because it was one of those worlds that's like just very much like our own, so it's very familiar as a reader, but then, you know, so some things are completely like normal and you as a reader are familiar with the same things that they're familiar with, but then at the same time occasionally they would bring something up as if it was like so alien, something that's completely normal, and I guess things that wouldn't necessarily be familiar to them because of the way this dystopian society was, but it wasn't consistent for everything, it was just certain things. So like at one point one of the girls was getting something called highlights, and it was like as if America had no idea what highlights were, and I just thought that was kind of weird because some of the other stuff, like America wears makeup to do her shows and that kind of thing, so I just feel like it's weird that some things were super like, what is that, and then some things were just normal, so it just didn't seem consistent. I feel like I'm saying a lot of bad things about this book. I actually did really enjoy it. It was a fun read and I really can't wait to read the rest of the series. So I gave this book 3 stars. Then the next 2 books I read were manga, so Attack on Titan Volume 1 and Volume 2. These were recommended to me as part of the university course that I'm doing at the moment over summer school, and these I wasn't expecting to enjoy at all. Just looking at the art on the cover, it doesn't really look like my sort of thing, but I surprisingly did. The first one I gave 3 stars. I found the whole manga thing very hard to get used to because if you're not familiar with it, you read it backwards. So this is the front cover and it goes this way, and you have to read it from right to left, and that's kind of fine, like that makes sense. But then when you've got multiple speech bubbles like this, not only are you reading right to left like this box and then this box, you're also having to read the speech bubbles right to left, and for some reason my brain couldn't process that, so I'd always be reading them left to right and then it wouldn't make sense and I'd be like, wait, you have to read them the opposite way. Then I'd read them the opposite way and it would make sense. But it just took me a really long time to get my head around that, and I feel like every time I put down manga and then pick it up again in future, I'm gonna have that reset my brain thing. So yeah, that was hard for me to get used to, but it was fun. And this was really intense and ruthless and quite violent, but it was cool. I did just kind of find it hard to keep up with, and I think it's just because it's not my usual sort of thing, and like I said, I did have a little bit of trouble getting used to the format, so there was that as well. So this one I gave 3 stars, and then this one I enjoyed a whole lot more. I think maybe just because I was more used to it, but also we got some backstory on some of the characters, which was really, really cool. And it just made me feel more connected to them, and I actually cared when they died and stuff like that, whereas the first one I was kind of like, who was that again? And yeah, there was a really good twist at the end of this, so I'm looking forward to where it goes. So yeah, that's really great. And I didn't realise that there's like 18 of these, which is quite a lot, but they were really fast for me to get through as well. I think I got through each of these in a day, which was cool. So this one I rated 4 stars. I really liked it. The next book that I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This one I also have a review up of, which I will link down below if you want to check it out, because I really, really enjoyed this. I did give it 3 stars because there were some things that I didn't love, but if you want to find out more of what I thought, you can check out that review down below. And then the next book that I read, I also have a review of. That's Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It's another one that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and it's kind of a YA sci-fi. I'll just leave it at that because I do talk about it more in my review, which I will link down below. I gave this 5 stars, which was a super big surprise for me because I am not a science fiction person. I didn't expect to love it that much, but it was amazing and incredible, and I'm still thinking about it now. Like, I still am not over how great it was, so highly recommend this. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts, you can check out that review down below. It is spoiler free, I think. And then the final book that I read this month was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This one I'd been wanting to read for a really long time as well. If you don't know much about it, it's about well, it's kind of set in a not too distant future. It's set in like 2040 something. And in this world, everyone lives most of their life or spends most of their free time, and sometimes they have jobs in a virtual reality. So that's not a totally foreign concept to us. A lot of us spend a lot of time on social media and different parts of the internet and stuff. So it was a really cool concept, and basically this super rich guy who invented the virtual reality that everyone uses, he dies and leaves in his will a competition, and whoever wins this contest gets to inherit all of his billions of dollars. So the whole thing is basically this one guy who's obviously from a poorer background trying to change his life by winning this contest. So that's kind of the whole premise of the story. Like I said, I thought it was a really cool concept. I didn't enjoy it a lot just because of the writing style. Also, there were a whole lot of 80s pop culture references, which like at times is cool. Like in Eleanor and Park, there were a lot of 80s references too, but they were kind of subtly interwoven into the story, whereas these were like really in your face. So kind of got over that pretty quickly. And also, like I said, the writing style just wasn't for me. I didn't think it was very good. Ernest Cline, as far as I'm aware, is a screenwriter first and foremost, and I think you could really tell that from his writing because his dialogue was really good, and the scenes where there was a lot of dialogue between two or more characters, I really liked them. I would really get into it and not be able to put it down, and it was like a page turner, and I was really into it. But there's not a whole lot of dialogue in this because obviously a lot of it's set in a virtual reality, and a lot of this is the guy by himself trying to win this contest because everyone in this is like very like in it for themselves kind of thing. So when there was dialogue, it was great, but there wasn't a lot of dialogue throughout the story. And I just think that because Ernest Cline is a screenwriter, he's used to explaining how something would look, but when you're writing it in a story, you have to, it's that whole like showing, not telling. And there was so much telling instead of showing that I really just couldn't get into this story because it was like this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And it just doesn't, it feels like you're reading a report kind of thing. And I can see why it might be hard to transition from being a screenwriter to being a novel writer. Obviously, a lot of people freaking love this book. I know, like, everyone that I've heard talk about it have given it like 5-star ratings, like they love it. So I know it's not something that would bother everyone. It's just for me personally, I found the writing like really flat and quite dull. So yeah, that let it down for me a little bit, but other than that, it was a really cool story. I really look forward to seeing the movie because I think since Ernest Cline is a screenwriter, the way he's described it makes it really clear for how it's going to be as a film. I think it's going to make a really great film, and a lot of things in this I just think would translate better to film than they did to a book. Oh, also, because the whole thing's in a virtual reality, there's that whole catfish element, and I really liked that about it. I thought that was really cool and really interesting to like see in reality, that thing of like you don't really know who you're interacting with. And in this, it kind of almost doesn't matter because the virtual reality is more important to most people than actual reality, but it was just that whole catfish element was really cool for me because I like that kind of thing. So yeah, I can't wait to see this as a movie, but like I said, didn't love the book, wouldn't read it again, but yeah, I think the story was really cool. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. And that is all of the books that I read this month. Pretty happy about it. I had a lot of fun. So if you've read any of those and have some thoughts to share with me, leave that in the comments down below. I will see you in a couple days with my TBR for December, which is crazy. We're nearly at the end of the year. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this. Bye.